Welcome back to Rebel Movement Podcast. My name is Billy. My pronouns are they, them, or she, her. We have a bit of a self-serving episode. Today, I have kind of expanded on it a little bit so that I think it's going to be a good episode. But before we get there, just in case this is your first time listening, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do. So you already heard, my name is Billy. I'm non-binary, queer, and I teach yoga and movement that has nothing to do with weight loss or diet culture and everything to do with feeling empowered, feeling better in your body, and kind of letting out your inner rebel. In general, I would say anything that's like anti-diet, queer inclusive, trauma informed is a rebel movement in itself. Um, so what I do is I do group classes and I also do one-on-one sessions where we do a little bit of movement for sure. There's definitely some element of people coming with like, oh, my back hurts often because I do this with work or whatever. Or we approach those sort of physical needs, but then we also work together to help you pick out the influences of diet culture on how you think about movement, how you think about your body. We essentially try to heal your body, heal your relationship with your body and with movement. Um, I love doing this work. I also work with other teachers, movement teachers, studios, workplaces to help make their spaces more inclusive. Um, keep an eye out soon, or keep your eye out soon. There will be an announcement, a super cool secret announcement. Until that point, if you are a teacher or a movement studio and you want to learn how to do this work with me, you can reach out. There should be a um, little thing like with my email below, but you can always go to my website or info@movewithbilly.com. If you have any questions about this, there's also a free consult option too. If you want to work with me, but you're not really sure, you're nervous to start, totally get that. It can be really hard to know how to how to trust a new space. My online studio is called Move with Billy, and I like honestly, I started it because I was sick of feeling some of these toxic things in other studios. And I felt nervous to go to new spaces because inevitably a lot of them turned out to be not actually inclusive. You know, they'd have the rainbow flag on the door and then they'd start off the class with, hey guys, hey ladies, and immediately, show their true colors. So I created the space because of that. However, I'm not saying that means you immediately have to trust me because I understand that it's tricky. So if you book a free consult with me, we can go over any and all anxieties, anything that might be coming up and getting in your way. As someone who also has anxiety, I get it. I want to be there for you and help you through that part. So this episode is sponsored by me and my business, Move with Billy. You can check it out all in the show notes. And I appreciate you listening to this little ad of mine. That's not the part that's self-serving. However, I guess that part also is. Um, if you have been around with working with me around the studio, on my social media, even here at the podcast for a while, you probably met my old cat, Banana. So when this comes out, oh my goodness, I tried to open a calendar and it's not working. When this comes out in a few days will be the day that she died a year ago. So she died a week exactly before my birthday, so the 24th of June. My birthday is July 1st, if you're trying to do the math. Um, and she was around for episodes in the early podcast, absolutely caused chaos. And I really wanted to, this is the self-serving part. I really wanted to have an episode where I just tell you stories about Banana. And I do have, maybe you saw, I came up with a really cute title and I have some stuff to it. I do want to say, if you are a person who's currently going through grief, there might be some grief in this. I don't know, I might tear up. It might be pretty emotional. If you're not ready for that yet, that's totally fine. Pause this episode, come back to it. Or I will say some funny some of the funny stories first, and then go into the more emotional part, hopefully. So you can always listen to that part, and then I will hopefully give you another little warning. But just as I said, if it's too early for you in your process, that's totally fine. If this isn't the day, if you're like on the way to a meeting and you know that this stuff makes you cry, maybe skip this episode, go to last week's episode or the week before, or whatever other episode you might be missing, and um, come back to this when you have the time. Okay, so because I love one of my favorite things, if I think I've said this a lot recently because I've asked for a couple of guests' pets' names. Um, one thing I love is knowing pets' names and also the like evolution of their name. So Banana, her name started off as Anastasia, and then it went to Anna, and then it was like Anna Banana, and then it was Banana, and Banana suited her far better than Anastasia, I think. Although she definitely had an Anastasia vibe to her still. She was very like fancy and like, I don't know, fancy vibes. I'm not trying to judge anyone whose name is Anastasia. Just it seemed like she fit what I would assist what I thought the name's vibe was. You know what I mean? But Banana definitely was her like a goofy side. Anastasia was her like, I own this apartment and I'm fancy and need to be the queen side. And Banana was her like goofy, silly side. I actually wasn't supposed to have her. It was a friend of my best friend's cats were having kittens, and I had like picked out a different one. And then for some reason, I think someone else ended up being really connected to them. Um, I wasn't living in Kingston where my friend was at the time. And so I didn't really get to see the cats very much. But at one point, my friend said, "Oh, this cat is exactly like you in cat form. And I really think this would be the cat for you." And then the one that I had originally had my eye on was spoken for, which ended up being the best decision because that cat was Banana. And I absolutely love that that was the description and the introduction I had to Banana because I just find that so cute, like the cat version of me. um, and I feel like my friend was right. So I'm trying not to get to the emotional stuff too fast. Um, and I know you're like, why am I listening to this? You know, this is just stories about cats. First of all, I feel like most of the people, if you're new here, I feel like most of the people um in my circle and in my clients either love cats or dogs or both. And I've had several classes or several times where I'm connecting with people, clients, where we've just exchanged cat stories. And so this is for you, my friend, my wonderful clients who love cats and dogs and pets. And also, there is a bigger, deeper emotional thing later on that is more vulnerable, and I'm holding it in. Okay. I also forgot to set a timer for this episode, which I sometimes do because if there's like mistakes, it's easier to go back to find them. So hopefully there's no mistakes in this. I don't think there will be. Okay, so I wish I had taken note of every single ridiculous thing Banana did because there was a lot of them. And I mean, we would be here forever, and I feel like that would be a little bit too much. But I do have some that I wrote down that are um I find they're very funny and are very cute. So when I first got Banana, I was living in an apartment with a friend of mine and their soon to be husband and their dog and cat. And their cat was named Peanut, dog was named Marley, I think. I'll leave the humans' names out because I don't have their permission to share them. But I got Banana and she was immediately, I feel like not immediately, but she did warm up to the dog and to the cat. Um, her and Peanut were more like, you just mind your business, I'll mind my own business. I think it was quite a long time ago because I had been in for about 11 years. So it was my first apartment after breaking up with an ex of mine. So it was my like second place I'd ever lived without, my family. Ended up being really good friends with the people I moved in with, but I was moving in with strangers. They were lovely, it turns out. And That's where sort of Banana was really little. She had a really hard time jumping. Not always the most graceful of cats. She would do this thing that I can't really describe to you to well enough to do it justice, where she would like sit and like do a little forward, little sharp forward motion and come back and forward motion, come back. Almost like she's like getting ready to jump. She's like psyching herself up, you know? And my favorite part about that was that she would do that and then she would miss the poor little baby. She wasn't very good at jumping for all the whole time. And she also would open her mouth to meow and no sound would come out. And she learned different behaviors from different cats she lived with. I didn't write this stuff down. This is all impromptu, but the thing she learned from this cat, from Peanut, was to drink out of glasses because Peanut would drink out of glasses. If you had a glass of water, so you couldn't really trust water if you left it out like and left the room. Banana learned that from her. Banana also did that, and she did that for the rest of her life. She ended up having her own little glass in the window. Um, and if she didn't, if it was empty, she would like she would knock it over, partially to get the water out, but also to tell you that she needs more because her little nail, she'd like get her nails out and it would go like clink, 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 clink. And then you'd run from one side of the apartment to the other to try to catch it before it fell on the ground. Okay. So in this apartment, my second apartment, living on not my own, but you know what I mean, with roommates. I had this wonderful new cat and I absolutely loved her. At one point, one of my roommates and I made a cardboard cat fort. It was like Friday night. I had to take a muscle relaxant or something, which kind of made me feel a little bit loopy. They had been drinking a little bit. It was a good combination for a really creative and awesome cat fort made of cardboard. It was like 3 stories high. Cat stories high, I will say, not like obviously house stories high. Although that would be something to see. And the cats loved it, I think. Banana she loved anything that made crinkly sounds. And she would go around the house or the apartment and take some things. She'd knock over the garbage all the time to get these crinkly things out. She was really loved string too. You had to be careful with string and stuff like that and ribbon. But she would go around and gather up all these things like receipts and like, I don't know, Werther's wrappers if they're, I don't know, tinfoil balls, little pieces of string. Thank God she wasn't eating them then, but she did do that later on in her life. And she hid them all in the cat fort. And then also, you know, those like foam rollers that are like quite, I don't know, 2 feet, 3 feet long, maybe. I'm getting a thing that my mic is dying. So hopefully I can finish this episode before it dies all the way. She, first of all, carried that. um, a small cat carried that down the hallway. She ended up getting a chunk out of it, and I think she put that in the cardboard cat fort. So when we took down the cat fort, there was a whole pile of stuff in there, which we didn't even really recognize that she was doing. It was like, I don't know, the whole top of like, you know, the size of the top of a milk crate. Like you could fill the whole top, not the whole milk crate, but like the whole top of it. You could fill that with stuff that she'd found. Another time, so the next place we lived, I think, or 2 places after that. Yeah, 2 places after that, I had like 6 other roommates, and there was a dog who she did not like. Um, oh no, sorry. Okay, I can go back. So I was at the place with those 2 friends, and then I was at a suburban place, and that cat was very vocal, and that's where Banana learned how to meow. She got really loud after living with that cat, which was very funny, I find, because that cat was very, very vocal, and then Banana was more vocal. Okay, then the next place, with the 6, 7 roommates, I can't remember. She didn't like the dog. If she did come downstairs, she would be up higher or just try to like hide or run away. Um, one of my roommates had this like wax melter thing up on the top and had forgotten to turn it off. And Banana, being her ridiculous self, walked right over top of it and got wax on her tummy. And so it was like the size of, I was gonna say like 2.5 toonies, 3 toonies, which if you're American, or not that don't have toonies, I don't know, like a donut hole and a half or 2 donut holes. I'm just trying to think of things that are around that size. Um, I'm getting really worried about the mic. I'm really hoping this doesn't get interrupted, but I guess if it does, I'll just have to come back for part two and put them both together later. Um, you won't know unless I tell you. But anyway, I'm just naming that I keep focusing on the red light that's on in front of me. Um, so she waxed her belly, and half of the little section had ripped off, so you could see her skin. And the other half was still there. The wax was still there. So I had to call my old roommates from that first house I lived at with Banana, who were, again, as I said, who are great people. I had to call them. They came down. We had to use cuticle scissors, like little tiny scissors, to cut out the wax. And I think it took us like 45 minutes to a whole hour because Banana walked over this thing, which I don't know, was just very her style. Other one I wrote, I already kind of told you about that she would um try to jump and fail often. Um, when at one point she lived with another cat later on, they would always try to steal her food. She learned to eat really fast then, which thankfully at some point she did kind of grow out of ish. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward a couple of years because some of these years are a little bit like vague and I can't remember very well. Um, and I'm gonna go to some more recent memories because I mean, I don't know if you want to hear the whole history of Banana, but when I was teaching once on a virtual class, if you don't know, all my classes are virtual right now, and they have been for 4 years. I was teaching a class online, and I feel like she knew when I was teaching because she'd just do shit that I couldn't stop. And one of the times, so I'm teaching, my partner's on the other side of the room doing the class, like other side of the camera doing the class, so he can see me and Banana or me and my mat, and then it turns out Banana. So I had a glass of water, which you know we talked a little bit about before, right? I had a glass of water, and I was teaching, and Banana came over and knew I couldn't stop her and drank half of the glass of water, which is probably like 2 cups, a cup and a half, like a lot of water for a cat. She didn't drink that much all at once ever, except for that one day. She's 100% doing it because I could not stop her. Another time I was teaching, I was in final resting pose. My eyes were closed, and she silently came up to me and sat right beside my face to look down so that when I opened my eyes, I don't know if I swore, but I was extremely startled, which was on camera. And I don't know if I still have it or not, but it was very cute. Um, when we started doing the podcast, I would be in the spare room of the apartment that we were in. And she'd always find like the loudest thing in the room. I couldn't close the door because if I closed the door, she would be pawing at the door like nonstop and making a bunch of noise. So I'd keep it open a little bit, but then somehow she'd always find the loudest thing in the room, which was like a plastic bag she pulled out of nowhere and just like bat at it almost nonstop. Or she'd like go into the closet and explore again, knowing I can't really do anything about it. Um, she also loved to eat plants, which was annoying because she'd eat them in huge chunks and then throw them back up again. Sorry. Trigger warning, I guess, for that part. One time we were at my partner's old house and she got up on the counter and ate off a bunch of leaves to their bamboo plant, I think. And then she got up on the stove and there had been like bacon grease or something in a pan. And first of all, she left a footprint in it. And then she licked it so much there was a little mark. Um, a little silly goose. And then I guess I have one more thing I can tell you is that I mean it's kind of similar to stuff I already said, is that she'd wake me up in the morning. If she wanted food, she'd again find the loudest thing in the room. Like again, this plastic bag, like where did that even come from? And she would just dig it like with both her paws until finally you got up. She loved playing a game we called Blueberries, where the little blue pom pom, and you threw it down the hallway. She'd run after it. Um, she was a character and like a whole personality. Trigger warning, I guess. A little warning. This is going to get a little emotional if it's not already emotional for you. Um, we're going to get to the reason I called this episode what it was called. When I grew up, I was not really safe to, oh, my battery is going to die. We're going to chance it for a little bit. When I grew up, I wasn't really safe to be myself. I never really got the chance to figure out who I was and to be that person. I grew up in an emotionally abusive home, and I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse as well, and just not a great upbringing. Wasn't safe to be myself at home. I grew up basically being taught to hate myself and that everybody else hated me. And I'm not going into this whole story because I'm like changing the topic. I'm telling you this because when like I feel like animals are like pets specifically. A friend of mine said to me this to me about a little over a year ago, that pets give us this wonderful chance to be fully ourselves and love us unconditionally for it. They're some of the only creatures, however you want to say it, that you can really be 100% yourself and kind of alone with, and it's really safe. And to me, as a person who survived everything I survived, don't get me wrong, there were safe people and people who loved me unconditionally, but not people who were like I lived with and was really close with. You know what I mean? Like not people I saw on a day-to-day basis, um, for an extended period of time, meaning more when I was a kid. To me, having Banana love me unconditionally and like deeply, like she took care of me. She'd sit with me when I was not feeling well. But when I had surgery, she was really like there with me. She just, she always knew when I was feeling upset. Sorry, that was a weird sound, freaked me out. She knew when I was feeling upset, she'd be there. Like she loved me unconditionally. To me, that was extremely powerful. And she kind of was there in my life until I could love myself. She taught me how to love myself because she was there loving me no matter what. And she was there for like a lot of dark years, a lot of years where I made questionable decisions. And, my 20s, 20, yeah, I don't know if it's like this for everybody, but a lot of my 20s was just sort of like fucking around and finding out. Not literally most of the time, but I don't know. I went through a lot of shit then and wasn't my best self for sure. I probably had toxic traits. I mean, we all have toxic traits, but I probably had a lot more then. And she just was there loving me the whole time. And I don't think I noticed, I don't think I necessarily recognized the impact of that then. But now looking back, seeing how much of a difference it made, she definitely saved my life more than one time. Where having someone or something happy to see me when I got home, the reason I woke up in the morning, she's the reason I didn't, she's the reason I kept going. We'll say it that way. I guess I did give you a trigger warning, but she is the whole reason I'm still around. And I am so fucking grateful that I got her as a pet. She really was, honestly, I don't care if you judge me for saying this, she was like my soulmate. She was my best friend. And I can't even, I thought I could use words to explain the impact she had on my life, but I can't really. I guess just that, like, don't discount pets and other places we can find unconditional love, especially if you are a person who also experienced childhood trauma. Maybe you also um, missed out on unconditional love when you were younger. Don't discount pets because they when they love you, woo, told you I'd get emotional. When they love you with their whole heart and their whole being. And I feel like we don't deserve, humans in general don't always deserve pets because pets are just so pure and wholesome and wonderful. But you definitely deserve to be loved unconditionally, and you do deserve that. Don't discount the love that they can give you and how healing it is. They can make you laugh, they can make you cry, they can comfort you. And it's a big loss when you do lose it, but it's also, you kind of learn like the price of unconditional love is knowing that it might not always be, the person might not always be there, or the pet, but that the love always will. Um, so I found unconditional love in an unexpected spot. And like I said, there were other people in my life who did love me unconditionally. I had other family members, I had friends. I do have friends now, obviously, and family members, but it's a different type of thing when you missed out on love on a, in that pure basic family day-to-day basis, and then you find it um in one way or another, especially if you find it from an animal, because it's the safest. I still have a hard time because of my trauma trusting other people loving me and trusting that I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, it's better now than it was, but like a part of the trauma is learning to allow yourself to be loved. It's hard because wasn't safe for a long time, right? When you were in the trauma, it was usually with a huge fucking red flag asterisk beside it. Like, it was conditional. There was a reason you were getting it, and it was like, brace yourself for whatever the fuck's gonna happen next. Um, it's not like that with animals, and it's so incredibly healing to be seen that way and to be loved that way. And I just feel like there's not enough words I can say to convey the depth of the meaning behind it, other than I don't know if I would be here without her. I don't think I would. And I'm so fucking grateful. And I can't believe it's been a whole year now that she's passed. Um, a little over a year ago, I did um, a memorial yoga class to raise money because she had a bunch of vet bills before she passed away, and also then a bunch more vet bills when had to get her cremated and everything. And if you're interested in that, it's on my web. It's on the on demand, I think. I think you can still get it as a pay what you can, but um, I was blown away by the amount of support that I received from everybody within this community and within my community. Um, I'm still grateful that because of you, I had the money to do everything I could to try to save her. Unfortunately, we couldn't. And I fucking miss her so much. She was my best friend, and I I'm a person who's lost a lot of people, just so you know. Like, I lost my dad, I lost my grandparents. Um, there was a lot of death in my life. And losing Banana was one of the hardest ones because she was someone who loved me a lot. And I will say too, sorry, a little, definitely like a note to everything I just said. By all accounts, my dad loved me unconditionally. I will say that. He died when I was 3. I don't have memories of him, but I don't want to put out there that he didn't love me unconditionally, because I don't think that was true. I think he loved like the hell out of me. He loved me so much, and I can see it in the videos he took of me. Um, and as I said, that there were other people like my aunt, my grandparents, like my dad's parents. There were people who loved me. I'm not trying to say that there wasn't. But I am saying, like, my family I lived with, it wasn't conditional, it was conditional. Just in case you're listening and you're like, hey, what about me? I probably don't mean you. I'm probably not referring to you. You are probably within the all of those little disclaimers I just gave. And if you're like, hey, what about your dad? 100%. He set up the foundation, and Banana like reminded me of that foundation and built upon it. So there you go. I questioned doing this episode. It's a big deal for me. I've blocked off the whole day. The day she passed away. It's a very big deal for me. I didn't want to talk about how hard that day was today, because I don't know. I didn't want to go there right now. Um, I questioned talking about this, but I really struggled and had a hard time and was really lonely. And it was like it broke me. And it felt like not everyone understood the like earth-shattering grief I was feeling and how it felt like like I didn't want to do this without her. And I know that I'm not the only one who feels this with their pets, especially you out there who's in a similar situation I was in. And I just want you to know that I see you. And I wanted anyone going through this to know that they're not alone. And I also just wanted to really underline the impact that love has, whether it comes from pets or people. And I don't want anyone who's feeling like they're alone in the world to discount love of a pet, because you are that pet's whole world. And what a privilege. Thanks for listening. I'm sorry for all the tears. I did warn you. And actually, I did pretty good not tearing up until after the point I said it would get emotional. So there you go. If you want to support me, I would absolutely love it. There is a link in the show notes to tip me, and you can actually set it up. And I would really appreciate it because being a small business owner is really hard. And there's definitely days where I just think about maybe I should just quit. Um, there's an option now to set it up so that you can tip me every single month. So it's like maybe $3 every month for as long as you can or as long as you want to. You can raise it up more if you want, but even if you have $3 to send me once a month to help support this podcast, help support the work and the content that I give out, or if you just like, I love this stuff and I just want to support you. I've definitely have some of those people in my life and circle who I'm like, oh my God, I love everything you're doing. And I just want to like help out with a little bit that I can. So if that's how you feel about me, first of all, thank you. It's an honor. And there is links below for you. We're really pushing this. This red light has been blinking for the last like half of this episode. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening. Next week will also be a special episode, probably less emotional, but we're going to do a special episode for my birthday. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a fantastic fucking day, fantastic summer. If you have questions, if you have feedback, if you want to tell me your experience with your pets, if you want to request an episode topic or a request to be a guest, you can find all those links again in the show notes, or just email me info@movewithbillie.com, BILLIE. All my socials are the same at Move with Billie. If you want to connect me on any of those, I would choose Instagram. You can sign up for my newsletter below. And if you could take a second, rate, review, and subscribe, makes a huge difference for me. I think that's all the things. Thanks for listening. Bye.